Hey, real quick before we get started, tomorrow is going to be my final stream of 2023. I'm taking the rest of the year off, and to kind of celebrate just the year in general, hitting 20k subs here on YouTube and just everything else has been a fantastic year. I want to do kind of a mini subathon. It's going to start at 11 a.m. PST or 2 p.m. EST on both Twitch and here on YouTube, and it's going to have a max time of 12 hours. So again, just kind of like a mini one, but I did just kind of want to have a larger stream for you guys and just kind of have a good time with it. So it's going to start again 11 a.m. 2 p.m. With some testing. We're going to have chat building my decks, and then also Nico's going to come over in a couple hours afterwards. We're going to play some games and some real testing there, and then we're just going to kind of end the night with games with chat. Could also just be like some crowd games, some internet games, some Steam games that we're doing. So that's kind of the idea for that one. So, and if you guys don't know how subathons work, if you subscribe on Twitch or if you give me some bits, you do add time to the clock. There is a discount on both of those right now on Twitch as well. So that's kind of the idea for it. And we're just trying to get to 12 hours. So that's the idea. It should be a lot of fun. Final stream of the year, and I'm looking forward to it. So hope to see you guys there, and let's get into the video. Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have my final event of 2023. It was a box tournament, a double box tournament. It was a 128 player cap, which we did cap out for this event, and it was just a really fun event. I'm really happy we hosted it. It was a lot of work, and to get it done, and 128 people are a lot of people to get all organized, but it was a really good time, and I'm happy we were able to do it. So a couple of things before we get started. First, I do want to shout out both of our judges, both Huynh and Ryan, for doing all the work. I would not be able to do this event without their support while I was streaming it and stuff, so I do appreciate that, as well as Brian from Stage Zero for doing the commentary with me. Just always a fun time to work with, and I'm happy we were able to get that done. If you guys also want any of these deck lists, it's here on my website, and then it was again live stream on my Twitch and YouTube, which is linked in the description as well as on this page if you guys want to see it. They're both hit by they're for Twitch subs and YouTube members for both, but I will be re-uploading a free version in the next couple of days as well. And also, I do just want to say thank you to all of our new YouTube members. It really does help support the channel and help support me, and I do want to shout them out real quick. So we got Nickwitz, Peter Regs, 615X, Hollow Rosario, Prodigy Sniper, Doa, John Waters, Andres Vargas, Drade, Chicken McRobbie, Devin McGowan, Thomas Martin, Christian Shagun, and also Umnio Boken. So thank you guys for all the support. It's been really nice to see that, and I know that the YouTube streams have been really great. I'm happy that I can simulcast them now on Twitch and YouTube, and I'm going to continue to do that as much as I can. So anyways, you guys kind of want to see what these top 16 look like. So again, 128 players, and in that top 16 we had 5 Enel, with one of them winning it, 4 Sakazukis, 2 Purple Luffys, 1 Trafalgar Law Red Green, 1 of the Red Purple Trafalgar Law, a Charlotte Linlin, but it's the yellow black one, a Zoro, and also a Charlotte Katakuri. So honestly kind of diverse, but we do see the big 3 right here. And honestly, Enel is doing very good in North America, way better than I thought it was going to be. I thought that Purple Luffy and Sakazuki were going to be like the 2 big boys, and then like Enel was like kind of third, like in between the rest of the leaders and the top 2. So but Enel has been doing very good in this region, and we do have kind of a breakdown of the leader breakdown. So there are 44 Sakazukis, so not doing as good for like the conversion rate to top 16, but Enel doing super good at 20. Luffy about the same, 14 of those, and with we had 2 into the top there. A couple of Charlotte Katakuris, and then Star Deck Luffy, and then everything else is 5 or less. So for the Zoro, and both the laws, and also the yellow black Big Mom, all those were at 5 copies or less in this 128 player event, and they all were able to get a top 16, which I think is really cool. But we're going to go over the top placing list for each one of these leaders. We also have a couple of these unique 5-2s. So these were records that could have made it into top 16. They just had worse tiebreakers. So we're going to talk about those leaders as well. So anyways, let's go into our top placing list for each one of these leaders, starting off with our first place list, which is Justen's Enel. And as I've been saying, Enel's been doing a lot better than a lot of people, including myself. I didn't think Enel was going to be doing this well here, and it's been, it's won 2 big events. At least it's won this event, and it won the core TCG regionals the week prior. So honestly, I think there is like a little bit for it. I also think it's weird though, if you look at Paris, they had a huge regional out there and it didn't even get into the top 16. So it's a weird, I don't know, region thing. I don't know if we just believe in it more and we have more people on it, but that's not even kind of the idea. So I'm not sure what the difference is kind of between the regions for it. So, but I do think this is a strong deck. I do think it also gets worse as more people kind of figure out how to like chance their odds and play around it. Cause you pretty much get down to it of like, all right, you can get away with not chancing like a Beige in life or a Thunderbolt in life, but then eventually you're going to have to be like, okay, this is the point. If they have the cards in there, they win. I need to kind of press the damage and go from there. So I think that's something that works with this leader. I also think that, some people need to realize, I'm going to say it every time, if they're at 1 life and you can't bring them down to 0, don't attack them, because they will get free cycle. They'll get potentially more cards with trigger in their life, and they get all this free advantage from it. Don't do it. Don't try to push them down to 0 unless you're sure that you can get them down to 0. That's a big thing for kind of Enel right now. But looking at this build, there's just a lot of cards with trigger. There's 4 copies of Shirahoshi, which spoilers for the final. I think they proc this like 4 different times. They're able to do a lot of cycle with this card. 4 Beige, not too crazy. 2 copies of Charlotte Cracker, which I've been honestly pretty keen for. On this list that we see here, I'm pretty much down for. I think this is pretty similar to what I'd be running right now. Like the Ohm is great with the Holy, and just a lot of people have been finding success with the Sky Island variant. I've had so many people tell me the Sky Island version is the trash. Like do the version of the like the Big Mom version, but this one's just been doing so good. I'd be very hesitant to not do so. So very good. Only 2 copies of Shura, which is the same as our first place other Justen for the Core TCG regional, which honestly, the more I see it, I think that's fine, because you really just want, like, the big important cards are the top end, which this deck does run out of room pretty quickly. So anyways, not much more crazy than that. Just big congratulations to Justen for their finish with Enel. Next up, we have a red-green Trafalgar Law. So this is Juan's second place build here, and honestly just really surprised that it got this far. I think a lot of people think that the deck is out of vogue, that Sakazuki is very good at removing a lot of cards on your board, but honestly, like the way that we saw Juan play and everything else, I'm not too convinced. 5-cost Law still does a lot of work. It's a very good card, especially in this deck, so it does get that value. We do have a new card in the Nico Robin, which is fantastic for getting rid of Rebecca's. You know that any Sakazuki deck is going to be playing Rebecca's, and there are other decks too that this is able to get some interaction with, especially since we play Otama, so we can get rid of 3Ks if we play both of them. And again, we really don't mind playing Otama into Nico Robin and then being able to use our leader effect to get rid of something, so I think that's fine. But other than that, it's just kind of what we've known for this deck to be. We have 2 copies of the Brook as well, and then just a single copy of Radbeam, and I'm not too surprised about this. We don't really have time for events because it can clunk up our hand. But yeah, in general, I think Law can be good. I'd have to see more matches with it against Sakazuki if it's something that's viable for it. But again, this is still like one of the strongest decks if you're able to see all your Trafalgar Laws, do the sequencing that you need to do. And with Enel being very popular, it did lose to Enel in the finals, but it felt like a really kind of better matchup for Law. They just Enel is able to just get the pieces that they're needing as well. So big congratulations to Juan for their second place finish here with the red-green Law. And then we're going to the purple Luffy. And honestly, there's not a lot of changes with the purple Luffy. I feel like there are a couple tech choices I've seen in this one, but it's pretty understood, I think, from this point. We just play, no 1s and 2s. We were able to like have some good 4 and 5 drops because we're able to use our leader effect to get there, including like the Trafalgar Law, including some 4/6 vanillas, which are great, including the page 1, which you can play off the ulti. And then also we have our Magellan, which this card I think is still in a really good spot for the deck. It does interact with yellow, I think, very great. But Sakazuki doesn't care as much about it, but I think yellow kind of wants to get to their higher end. So if you're able to kind of deny them that a turn or 2, that's great. And also any deck that doesn't have like non-KO removal has a real tough time about this just attacking 6k every turn, so I think that's good for you there. We also have like the Poly, we have the Eustace Captain Kid, we have the Queen, and then the kind of new tech choices. We do have 1 copy of the Monkey D. Luffy, which is a card with Rush. You do have to do Dom -1, and discard a 5 cost from your hand, which we do play a good amount of 5 costs right now with Magellan, Poly, and Kid, and most of them don't have counters too, which is important, or I guess half of them don't, so that's like a late game Magellan, you're able to get some value with the Luffy, which is great. You could also, like, if you want to, like it's a Straw Hat Crew, so you could get it searchable if you wanted to. 2 copies of the Eustace Kid, which I'm kind of inclined with. It's been kind of waning in my thought of like how good this card is in the deck. Like on paper, it sounds great. You get a ramp up to it, you get the boost, and you get to attack with it. But the 1K doesn't do as much, and this card is very, very removable. So it's not really worth just putting all this effort into playing him and then just losing it to like a Mihawk or like any kind of Sakazuki removal. It's just too kind of tricky to get rid. It's easy to get rid of, and you don't get as much advantage as you'd want to because of it. And then Urashima, I've been seeing this. It's just a good vanilla, and that's fine, especially since we ramp. So like if we go like this could be like a backup, and like it's a 7/9. Your opponent's gonna have to get rid of this anyways, and if they don't, I think having a 9k attack every time with this is better than potentially getting like the boost with your leader too. And that means we can go 7 here, not lose the Dawn with the useless kid, and then play our 9-drop Kaido, which if I do kind of feel like the best way to play this deck is to ramp into this guy as soon as possible and get as much advantage from just having a 9-10 and getting rid of whatever your opponent played last turn as long as it doesn't have protection. So I think that's all good. 2 copies of Jet Gatling as well. But Purple Luffy's, I think, is in a good spot. It's probably one of my favorite decks in this format. And congratulations to Vincent for their finish there. The next up we have the red-purple Trafalgar Law. So we got 2 laws in the top 8 here. And this is Ryan's version of the build. Some kind of tech choices here is the Ace. I've seen it in like Asian lists before, but I never really subscribed to it because we have a hard time getting to 7 Dawn, I feel like, consistently to be able to play it. But giving 2 things minus 3k and then have a 7-drop 7k is nice in a deck that doesn't usually have a lot of Dawn that they can put underneath their cards. So you don't get the rush thing because it's not a Whitebeard's Pirates, but I think that's great. And I do like the Fire Fist too. I do kind of like this card. As long as your opponent doesn't kind of choke you out at like 3 life, this does get you a lot of removal potential, giving it minus 4k. The activate main in life is fantastic because the purple one from the set doesn't let you do that. And then just like the ramping off the Ain, the Beppo, no Jean Bart, but we do play the Sachi and Penguin and the rest of it here. So no real searchers for this, no real card draw outside of like Sanji being able to use it to draw, which is fine, but this deck is a little bit at the whim of just the kind of cards you draw, which is kind of rough sometimes. But I do think this deck does have a lot of strength there, and congratulations to Ryan for their finish there. And the next up, we had 4 different Sakazukis in the top 8, so I'm just going to mention all of them very quickly. They're very similar lists, but they do have some different texts and from it. But we have we have Carmen's build, we have Alex's build, we have Austin's build, and we have Calvin's build too. So those are the 4 builds we have. The first build, so looking over Carmen's build, they do have the Rush Usopp, which... This has always been like a meme in my chat, like, oh, blue does have a rush card, they could be playing it. And now that he's played it, now I have to like doubly say it. So we'll see what it is. It's a rush card. It's a 4/5. Sakazuki can get out of your hand, so I think that's fine for you. But I would definitely not like super expect this, and I'd be curious to see if Usopp was able to get any games or pressure that opponents weren't kind of expecting earlier. It also is like lower on cost. It's a 4-drop with 5 compared to like Zoro, which is a 3 cost with 5, but it's what it is. Other than that, I think the standard stuff that we see for this deck, 1 Kaido and 2 Mihawks, which is a bit more of a top end than I think some decks are playing, but I do think both are very strong. Next up, we have our second build. So this is Alex's build for us. And this is probably close to what I'd be playing. I'm not 100% on the Hina package yet, but I do know that it's great if you go first, which in the mirror match, it does make a big difference. Also kind of the idea why you play Kaido, because in the mirror match, this will get you, whoever plays their Kaido more, I think wins those matches. So I think that's impactful there. Not much more I want to say there though. Then also we have our next list. So Austin, the same thing, just different ratios on a couple things with the same card pool. And then lastly, we have Calvin with, again, like it looks like, I think like 10-drop Kaido at this point is probably a staple in Sakazuki at 1 or 2 copies. It just helps you for a lot of matchups, and including like Enel. I think Enel can grind you out long enough that you get more resources than them, as long as they don't get as many Rebeccas for it. So I think again this Kaido is in a good spot for that. I probably run 2. I just like 1-ofs most of the time, but it worked for these guys, and congratulations for their top 8 finishes. Next up, we're into our top 16, and we're going to start off with Mozai's Black, Yellow, Charlotte, Linlin. And I've heard like whisperings of people telling me like, oh, this deck is legit. This deck has a lot of potential. It has a lot of removal. It doesn't lose to Sakazuki. And this is just a really, really interesting build. So I'm happy we're able to kind of talk about it. And kind of my insights for it is that you do just kind of be really slow and meticulous with it. You kind of set up your blockers. We have our Borsalinos and our Sabos to do that. We also probably just don't attack unless we need to, just meaning that our Gadatsu is able to get some early removal, which is really great. against most decks that aren't like Purple Luffy probably has a rough time with it, but everything else is there too. We are a Big Mom Pirate, so we can play the 10 drop in this, which is probably like the best thing about this leader, being able to do this. And also, I guess real quick, if you guys don't know the effect of this, Dawn times 2 when attacking for 2, you may trash 1 card from your hand. If you have 1 or fewer cards in your life area, put up to 1 card from the top of your deck into your life area. So it costs technically 4 Dawn, and you lose 1 card in hand, but you do get the heal, which is great. So kind of like an Enel effect, which you on a 7k body. And then, yeah, Rebecca's great in this deck too. You get to recycle a lot of pieces, like our 2Ks, our Kobes. We can also play the Tashigi, which they decided to play. Kind of like a mini Kuzan, and you can play it off the Rebecca, which is great. Kobe too, we can get some removal with this card as well. Couple copies of Great Eruption, the Arrow, and also the 200 million volts. For the defense side. And then again, like Yamato gets some kind of neat things too. So for example, if you have like the Shigi out, you attack with it, give something -3 cost, and you can play this. It has based off life, so that's what you, because you're able to reduce the cost of something. So if you have 1 life, your opponent has 3, but you use the Tashigi effect, you give something -3, so you're able to increase the range for it. So you can get some really big pops with this card, and then Sakazuki as well. So which you can 6 cost is like the sweet spot where you can use the Linlin effect and then play a card out too, which is nice. So anyways, this is the build here. I think it's really interesting, and congratulations to Mozai for their finish there. Next up we have Zoro. So this is Alex's Sash's build for it, and I think this is like Zoro's never like the worst deck in the format. I still think this is a really good deck for anyone kind of getting in the game. It shows you kind of the advantages for it. You do get like this rush pressure for it, and it's in a good spot from there. We're still playing like the Buggy and Curly to Dam package with a good amount of events. The only new Fire Fist is or I guess we're playing the only new card is the Fire Fist from OP05, which I do like this deck, or this card in the deck. We do have some issues getting down to 2 or less life because our opponent usually prioritizes removing the cards on our board than attacking us for life and hoping we kind of run out of resources, but that's kind of what we have here. So I don't know. Zoro's in a good spot still. I still think I don't think a lot of people are on the deck, which is kind of affecting how many people are topping with it. But I also think that there are ways to interact with it. It's not as supreme as it was and aggressive as it was, but it's still in a good spot. So congratulations to Alex for their finish there. And then next up, we have our last in the top 16 before we go into our miscellaneous 5-2s. But we have the Charlotte Katakuri, which I think a lot of people thought was going to be doing better than Enel, and in other regions it is doing better, but it is just on the whims of RNG. I feel like a lot of times still. If you have enough people on Katakuri, one person's going to find all the cards they need every time, and that's going to be great. They're going to get that top for you. But other than that, like you can still just look at your hand and be like, there are no cards I can play. There's no cards that are really worth it right now. So I think that is impactful. Nothing too wild from the deck list construction. The only difference is like the 5/7 Randolph, which I do like. It is kind of like a backup plan. Like if you have to go first because you do like going second, playing Randolph on curve is usually in a good spot. Sakazuki can remove it, but most decks just kind of have a tricky time interacting with it. And a 7k attack means that they have to, it's like 2 cards out of their hand, or they have to take the damage. So other than that, nothing too crazy, and congratulations to Richard for their finish there. And then our last 3 decks, we do have Newgate, which I still think Newgate's in a good spot. It has so much rush pressure and just so much offensive pressure in so many ways that it's probably like middling. It's not maybe as oppressive as it was, but if you're playing against a deck that's not expecting this deck to show up, they're in a bad spot. We do have all our cards unrestricted outside the boat, so we do have 4 copies of the 4-cost Marco, 4 copies of the 5-drop Marco. We have our Monkey D. Luffy, and also we have the new Sanji Rush card and the Zoro, so we have so much rush pressure, and the Ace. So we have 17 cards with rush. No, 13 cards with rush with here, which is fantastic. We also do have Edward Newgate 9-drop back at 4 copies. We're playing 3 in this one, which I agree with. We sometimes have it clunky in hand, and we do appreciate doing that. And since we have Izo, it's somewhat searchable. But so I agree. 4 copies is probably too much, especially like aggressive build like this one. But if you're able to be at like 1 or 2 life, if your opponent's not pressuring you, and then you play Newgate, then 2 life with like a Newgate out and being able to chain them is very oppressive. Like, you lose very quickly if that kind of starts happening. So anyways, that's the list here. Congratulations to Nicholas for their finish there. And then we have Lorenzo on Queen, and I'm really happy to see that Queen's kind of still around a little bit. I think it's a great deck still, and I feel like more people are going to Enel instead of playing Queen, because they do kind of have that kind of same live forever energy kind of with it. But there are some new cards that we added to this deck from the set. Namely, we have the X-Drake, which we are able to use as kind of like another copy of 3-cost Doflamingo. Blocker, it's a 5-drop 6k, and then on play, look at this top 5 cards of your deck and place it around in any order. So I think that's great. And being a 6k blocker means that you can block some 5k attacks and then have it survive for the next turn. But then again, also knowing what cards are on the top of your deck means you can find what you need next turn, but you also know what you're going to heal next turn with your Queen, which is great. A couple copies of Gadatsu, because you're probably not attacking your opponent early game. And then our huge top-in, including 2 copies of John Giant, which I think is a really cool card. I think it's a great card for us here, but I know it is a little bit of a meme in its own way. But other than that, very obnoxious deck. If your opponent doesn't know how to play around it, you get a lot of free advantage, and I think that's still good in a format like this one. So congratulations to Lorenzo for their finish. And our last deck of the day, we have Daniel with their Red Purple Kid. And I do think Red Purple Kid can have a good like rush down kind of play style for it. This one is I'd say like a little bit less aggressive with it, since we have like not as many rush cards. We don't have our 5/6 rush Luffy, but we do have the 10-cost Luffy here, so you can attack with this, get it 11k rush, get rid of a 8k or less if they block with it, and then we can still use our leader effect to do the Dawn minus to get the effect there. So I will say there's like less like aggressive Dawn minus effects in this one. We're just using the only real ones are the Eustace Captain Kid and the Queen. Other than that, we don't like lose Dawn, so maybe that's like a way to build this guy. Eustace Captain Kid can always just proc off your own leader effect, so that's great. It just means that for free you're able to like draw a card, which is really nice. And I think that's cool. So honestly, this is an interesting build for it. I do like the idea for what it is. We do have like the Songor, like a 6/8 vanilla that we can find off our Nami. And just being able to pressure your opponent with like some big attacks, I think is cool too. So that's kind of the list here. Congratulations to Daniel. And that's going to be it for the video today. So again, thank you for everyone who's supported me on this channel, but also for coming out to these events and making them just awesome. I've been really having a great time hosting them, and I'm expecting to do a really big one next month. So keep on the lookout on my socials for the announcements for it. But I think that's going to be it for this one. So thank you again for hanging out. I do appreciate it. If you made it this far, hit that like and subscribe button. I really do appreciate it, and I'll catch you all next time.